Hello, guys. You guys are in for a treat today. As you join, just give us a little shout out. Let us know where you're joining from. We have a very, very special guest today. So thank you guys for joining. We'll give everyone a couple minutes and we'll get started really soon. Like I said, you guys are in for a treat. So yeah, introduce yourself. Let us know where you're joining from. If you're a parent, player, coach, kind of the usual little info on yourself. And we're going to get our special guest, Crystal Dunn, on here momentarily. Okay, stand by, guys. Let us know where you're joining from. We have someone from Germany. Awesome. Yeah, let us know your club, team, SAC. Very nice. We're waiting on a very special guest here. And here she is.
Oh man, I'm so bad with technology. This took like so long for me to figure out.
No, you were quicker than some of our guests. So I love it. People are kind of joining us as they come in, and I told them to let us know where they're joining from and if they're a parent, player, coach. But I am very excited for this conversation. As you guys know, you know about Crystal and what she's done, but today we're kind of take a deep dive into some things maybe you might not know about Crystal. And I have a few questions for her, and then we're gonna answer some of the questions that you guys sent in and some of the things you want to know. So Crystal, thank you so much for joining the Technique community today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so just real quick, you guys, before I get into a couple of my questions for Crystal, I was joking, we just caught up a little bit on a call before this, and I was joking because when Crystal's first season as a pro, we lived in the same building and we would carpool to all of our training sessions and games. So we got to have a lot of wonderful conversations, and I got to really know Crystal as more than just a teammate. Like, she's become a very good friend of mine. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear the wonderful wisdom and just to get to know her personality a little bit, because I think she's a very special person. In addition to what the magic you see on the field, there's a lot to get to know off the field. So I'm glad you guys are having the opportunity that I've had over the years to get to know her.
Oh, that was sweet. Thank you.
Of course. So let's start off. Obviously, everybody can Wikipedia you and knows the main things, but in your own words, just give us a little recap of your journey and where you came from and how you got to where you are today, and kind of your version of it, not what we can all read on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, I feel like there's so much on the internet though. Nowadays, I'm like, wow.
I know, it's true. We know everything from the internet.
Yeah, so, my family's from Queens, New York, and my family moved out to Long Island. I got started in soccer, really just being on Long Island and seeing so many kids playing this sport that my parents knew nothing about. So that's really where it all started, was just moving to a place where soccer was in my face all the time. And I think that was really cool. And I fell in love with it because I had a lot of energy as a kid. So for me, it was like, I get to run on this field and just play with these girls and really just enjoy myself and feel free. So fast forward to when soccer started becoming more of a job and not just only a hobby, was around, like 14 years old. And I think at that time is when I really realized that I want to go up another level. I don't want to just look at soccer as just this fun sport. I want to get really good. I want to really push myself to be the best that I can be. And then I went to UNC. I know you know something a little bit about that.
I've heard of it.
Great school. And of course, we both played under Anson, and he had an incredible way of just bringing out that true competitiveness in everybody, and, teaching us that it's healthy and we need it in order to push ourselves and our teammates to reach another level. So, college was fun. And I think it really allowed me to be best prepared for the pro world. Also, you helped me as well get through my tough times of being a rookie in the pro, where I was like, dang, the girls here are like faster, bigger, stronger. Like this is different. But yeah, I would say my journey is nothing, super special or spectacular. I think, a lot of people have shared similar experiences that I have, and just, falling in love with the sport at a young age and just wanting to get better and better, and having little obstacles along the way, but knowing that at the end of the day, it's about wanting to be the best you can. So, you get through it.
Well, you're very humble because obviously there's something along the way became very special and spectacular about your journey. But curious about that kind of process for you. Like, when did you know that you wanted to be a professional player and literally be one of the best in the world? And what do you think about you as a player in person allowed you to literally live that dream?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought I was a late bloomer. I loved the sport, and I loved that I was good at it. I mean, of course, you want to stay in a sport that you feel like, all right, I'm doing all right in this. But I think it was really sophomore year in college that I was like, I really think that I want to be a professional. I want to play this game. I want to make this my career. And I think I just enjoyed so much about the game, just how it made me feel, just feeling free and able to express myself on the field. And I think I turned that into my, true passion and determination to want to be the best that I can possibly be. So I think, yeah, around sophomore year in college is when I was like, all right, like I got to figure out what I want to do in these next 2 years and how to help and prepare myself for that professional transition.
Yeah, no, very interesting. And I really just have one more question for you, and then we're going to get to the questions that the Technique community asked, because there were some
Cool.
awesome questions sent in. And you guys, as you're watching, send us your questions on here too. I know some people sent in questions beforehand, but definitely ask away, and I'll pull some good questions for Crystal to answer. But last question from me, because as I said, I know you pretty well, but I want everyone else to get to know you. What would you want people to know about your experience specifically as a Black woman in the sport that they may not know?
Yeah, I think obviously recently, given the state of the world right now, the Black community has really leaned on a lot of people. It's not just Black people leaning on Black people, but just, reaching out to those in other communities to know that, we need their help and we need their support. And I've always felt supported in soccer. I felt like I had such great teammates along the way who I can always go to. And even if it was a tough discussion or a tough topic, I know that they were there to listen to me. And that was really important. So I've just truly enjoyed playing this sport because it really has brought so many different people together, and sharing this common goal of making some really great moments on the soccer field. But I just think, as a Black woman, I've always felt like I was different. It usually was me, myself, and I, the only Black girl on the team. So it was difficult at times, but I had teammates that treated me as equals, and they didn't make me feel like I was different, even though sometimes I did look around and say, oh, I wish I had someone that looked more like me. But it's never stopped me. It never hindered me or made me feel like I can't dream big or reach my goals. I've always felt like it almost motivated me more to be that one Black girl maybe on the team, and allow others behind me to feel like they have someone to look up to. So hopefully I've been a decent role model for people, and maybe hopefully people can also see themselves in me, just playing on the national team.
Yeah, I think you've been more than decent. And for all of the young Black women out there who are part of the Technique community or are listening today, you have a wonderful role model here to listen to. So thank you. And so now I'm going to get to some questions that people sent in to us beforehand. First of all, I have to say, people love you. Not that you need to know that, because I'm sure you kind of feel, but like our community had so many, just in addition to the questions, like compliments, and really everybody was so excited for this. So I can't thank you enough for joining us again. But so we had a lot of questions that kind of were around the same topic. So some of them I summarized a little bit and some were more specific. So did anybody ever tell you that you couldn't get to the professional level, or was there ever kind of a setback or a specific obstacle you had that made you really doubt that you could achieve your goals, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I basically was told around like 13 years old that I was too short, not too short maybe to play soccer, obviously, but that I wouldn't reach the level that I wanted to get to because of my height, because I wasn't, this big, strong player. So I did doubt myself a little bit around that age, just because I felt like, wow, these coaches care about me being short and I can't change that. So like, it's not like I'm going to one day wake up and be this tall statured person. So I had to learn to just rely on my strengths and just focus on what I think I can contribute to the game. And, after that, I don't think I've ever thought about how short I am and, play this whole woe is me card. So I just feel like, people are going to find things that they themselves may not like about you as a player or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's about trusting your strengths and working hard to just be the best that you could possibly be.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important message because the beautiful thing about this sport is that all different body types, athletic abilities, personalities, backgrounds can make you a wonderful. And that's why we have a team. Like when I play with Crystal, if you look at our physical makeups and like our strengths as players, they're very different. But like that's why it's great, is because we don't need 11 of me. We don't need 11 of Crystals. You need all different players. Well, maybe it would be good with 11 Crystals, but but it's true. If you're listening out there and you are, really tall and lanky or really short and quick and explosive, like all of these things can make you a wonderful player. So I think what Crystal said is so important, is that she didn't believe that. Like she heard it and then it left her head and she never looked back. So yep, in one ear out the other. Great. So this is a specific question from somebody who has said, I have two daughters, age 12 and 11, of color, who play select soccer. The majority of the time, they're the only Black girls on the pitch. The league that they play for is diverse, but they're only about a handful of Black players. Growing up, did you ever feel that you were overlooked despite your talent?
No, I don't think I was really ever overlooked. Falling short of a roster or, just feeling like you're not getting as much playing time, I don't define as, being overlooked. So I do think that, each player is always going to face some sort of challenge. And it's really about, not necessarily taking in that role and saying like, okay, this coach wants me to, sub in or not play ever. Don't be satisfied and just being like, okay, I'm at least on the team, but just knowing that you can work harder, you can get better, you can invest in yourself and just continue to grow and take in information, take in criticism. It's not easy. There's days that I'm like, oh, I don't like being told that I, passed the ball away 8 times in a training session, but it's about coming back and assessing your own game and then the next day getting better and wanting to just improve.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing, is that I think being overlooked is an interesting concept, because really not making a team or not getting as much playing time as you want means that maybe you're not being appreciated, but that's not like the end. That doesn't mean you can't make it on your soccer journey. For any player out there who, for whatever reason, isn't in a situation where you feel like you're being appreciated. So very good point. So within this, I kind of asked about when you knew you wanted to be a pro in general, but then taking that to another level, we had a question about when did you kind of realize that you wanted to be one of the best ever, like on the U.S. women's national team. And we saw, this a summer ago now, like almost a year ago now, you absolutely crush it on the world stage and win the World Cup. So did you have a moment where you were like, I can not only be a pro, but I can literally be an icon in this sport and kind of reach that next level? And I guess the spin-off on that is, if you could describe that moment, and then also how your approach to your professionalism as a player changed when you had that realization.
Yeah, those are such great questions. I mean, I think it really came after 2015 that I wanted to truly, truly invest in myself and almost reinvent myself. And of course, I had to go through, missing out on the World Cup in 2015. So I think it took that moment for me to realize, okay, a coach doesn't think I'm good enough. They left me off the roster. How do I react? And that year, I basically was like, okay, I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to play in a different position. I'm going to work on all the things that I know I can be great at, and also work on the things that I'm already really good at, but make them even better. So I think in 2015, I really just put my head down and kind of went back to work and worked on myself off the field and on the field. And I think since that moment, that year, I really changed how I viewed the sport and changed how I kind of attacked things mentally as well, because so much of this game is mental, like mental strength, mental toughness. And I think just for me, knowing that I can bounce back from anything, you know, after missing out on the World Cup in 2015, I really felt like there's only one way to go, and that was up, you know? So I just think now looking back, I'm like, yeah, I'm a completely different person and player, but it took me going through something so heartbreaking to really change and grow and take that experience and turn it into something positive.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I hope everybody is listening closely and writing this down, because this is literally, if you want to achieve anything or get to that highest stage in anything in life, sports or otherwise, I think this is like, you have to have a mindset like what Crystal is explaining. So I personally will be honest, I think when people, we always hear the questions about your versatility and like, oh, what was the transition like to defense or from
Yeah.
defense to offense and all that. And like, honestly, when I first met you, you were a defender, and I've seen you literally play everywhere. And I think like the big topic surrounding that isn't a big topic. You will do well at whatever position you're asked to play. But specifically, what about you as a player, and an athlete, like what qualities do you think make it possible for you? Because I see this as a wonderful thing. I think a lot of people are like, oh, she has to play defense or she has to play there. But like,
Uh,
what about you as a player makes it possible for you to be successful literally anywhere on the field?
um, I study the game a lot. I watch a lot of film. I'm constantly watching games back, previous games that I've played in against an opponent or another team. And I just think that I study the game a lot now. And I never did that probably before 2015. And I think after 2015, I really felt like I needed to criticize myself so that when others do it, I already knew, you know, I already knew that, you know, I already got on myself the night before about, you know, a missed pass, a missed touch, so that the next day, if the coach is getting on me for that, I'm like, all right, cool. I already saw the clips. I know. But, you know, versatility, I do think you have to have a level of athleticism. I think to play a lot of positions, you have to, you know, physically and your body type should be allowing you to make that transition, I would say. But I would say, like I said, studying the game and also just technically being sound to the point where you feel like any position you're in, you feel like you can break pressure down. You can get out of situations. Because I will say, outside back, you have to be technical. You only have a certain amount of space to be able to uh, break down an attacking player or to get the ball off your foot, because the pressure pocket is so tight that you really don't have that much space. So I really will say that it's really developing technically. That's how I kind of made the transition, I would say, easiest. But also studying the game, studying other players, studying yourself a lot, and just always wanting to learn. That's really what it came down to.
Yeah, and just having seen you over the years, I can attest to, like, I think a lot of people think, oh, you make it as a pro, but like Crystal, from the day she turned pro until today, has like continued to revolutionize herself as a player. So I think that's a credit to, like you said, always being a student of the game and then working on all of those aspects of technique and understanding and all of that. So I've seen it happen myself with you. So before I get to the next big question, we've had a couple requests and questions about you eventually writing a book. Is that in your future?
Oh gosh, I mean, I really thought about it. I feel like this book would probably be bomb, but yeah,
It would be great. It could be a comedy book.
it'd be comedy. It would be
Yeah.
comedy. A lot of like feel good moments. Obviously, talking about some challenges I faced, but yeah, I think I actually should probably start talking to some writers and kind of see, like, let's jot some things down and see what this could turn into.
Yeah. No, for real. I think it would be a mixture of, obviously you always bring a smile to people's faces and laughter, but also some real talk and some, from your experience and things that people could learn from. So you had a couple requests in here, just saying, no
All right,
pressure, but
let's over, you know.
yeah. What player or players did you look up to as a younger player, or soccer players or athletes in general? And same question now, if they've changed.
Yeah, so I looked up to Serena Williams a lot just because she was a Black woman. She was so strong and just powerful in her sport, you know? And I think that's how I saw myself, was, you know, just, you know, being strong and powerful, and just, you know, the fact that she was also a Black woman helped me kind of see myself and want to be passionate about something and want to get better and better at something. And I just think watching her dominate her sport was something that I always enjoyed doing when I was a kid. Of course, Mia Hamm is just ultimate legend, you know, and I think going to UNC just made me feel like close to her in a weird way, and made me feel like I can, you know, take something from her and work on my game the way she kind of was dedicated to the game at UNC. And then obviously being there for 4 years, she came around from time to time and we would have good conversations. And I was like, I'm literally speaking to Mia Hamm. I'm, you know, going to tear up a bit, but I just think, you know, just looking up to two women like that, I always felt like I can do it. They are so passionate, and I took that from them and wanted to really just dedicate myself to this game. And I really just think that those two women are like incredible.
Yeah, there's a spin-off question for that. When was the first, do you remember the first moment where you realized you were that for someone else?
Uh, yeah, I mean, there was this black girl I met going back to England when I was playing at Chelsea, and it was like a life-changing moment. Basically, she comes up to me and is like almost tearing up, and I'm like, "Hi, like, how are you? Do you want a picture?" You know, she couldn't speak, so I was kind of like, "Do you want a picture? Do you want, you know, what do you want?" And she was like, "You inspire me. Like, a little black girl like me, I didn't think that I could play soccer because no one like me plays, you know?" And she really just couldn't even get the words out, but she didn't even have to say a whole lot for me to be so impacted by that moment. And I just feel like it was kind of a life-changing moment for me, because it's really nice to be complimented on, you know, "Oh, you're a good player. Like, I want to be good just like you," or things like that. But I think when someone takes the approach of, "I saw myself in you," or "I am able to play this sport because you do." And yeah, that was just, it was such a heartfelt moment. And till this day, I think it was like the one moment that I can say was like, it really made me realize that I am a role model, you know. And I think we don't think about it a lot. You know, we wake up and we play a sport that we love, and sometimes it's hard to remember that people are looking up to you. But I think in that moment, I was like, I'm going to do my very best to make sure that I lead by example and do everything I can to make sure that those following me can have the same opportunities as me.
Yeah. Wow. See, this is the opening for the book. Oh, I love it. But for real, there are thousands of young players out there, I'm sure, who feel the same. So, um, you know, you mentioned your time at Chelsea, and I remember having some really interesting conversations with you when you came back surrounding what you felt like was different between the play over there and here. But what would you say you learned most from that experience?
Oh, I mean, I learned a lot. I learned how to live on my own in a country very far away from my home. I learned that. And I just think technically I had to get so much better just being over there, because in the NWSL, the game is so transition based. You know, there's so much more space. You feel like you can run, you know, for quite a bit of time without a defender coming, just because the space opens up. But in England, there wasn't a lot of transition space. A lot of the buildups were in tight spaces. You had to break teams down with your technical ability. So I think, you know, right off the bat when I got there, I was like, all right, there's no space for me to run in behind. I can't use my speed. I can't use my athleticism. I have to use my mind. I have to manipulate players to create space for other players. So I just think technically and tactically, I just had to go up a whole nother level.
Yeah, no, very interesting. And I remember the word you used. Remember this conversation because it really struck me, and especially thinking about the technique community, because this is something we talk about. And I included specifically after our conversation is the idea of like being precise. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember that it was such a perfect word for what you meant, is that a pass in the general direction of your teammate isn't good enough. It's at the precision. And so following that in a few technique sessions and in the intro to our sessions, I used the word precise a lot, and I had written it down because I was like, that is such a good way of describing the difference. And the difference between, I think, even in the US or wherever you are, getting from one level to the next is everything you do needs to be that much more precise. So
Definitely.
it's really interesting feedback from you. A couple more. What would be your advice? So we have a lot of players here who are working really hard, training on their own every day. What's your advice for someone who's trying to go pro?
Um, just, you know, commitment to the whole journey, because I think, when you're good at something, especially at a young age, you feel like, you're invincible. You feel like, yeah, I want to play soccer for the rest of my life because I'm good and I haven't hit any bumps in the road yet. But I think you just have to be committed to the ups and downs and the whole journey, because it's not about having this perfect trajectory. Just, everything's great, everything's great. It's really about, if you get knocked down, how do you react? It's not about never failing, but it's about how you react to that failure, and how do you reinvent yourself? How do you invest in yourself even more? So the commitment level has to be at an all-time high, I would say. And just also enjoy doing what you do. I think, I'm 28 years old almost, and every day I have to basically ask myself, like, do I enjoy it? Because I think, I never like to take for granted the opportunity of playing a sport for a living. I mean, it's a pretty cool gig, and I think the moment you're not enjoying what you're doing, your passion is going to slip, and, you're going to question why you even do it. Of course, you're not going to be at your best if those are the thoughts running through your head. So I would say, just keep the commitment level high, and just try to enjoy the whole journey, because there's going to be some ups and there's going to be some downs, but you just have to embrace everything.
Yeah. Amen to that. And I'll tell you guys, having been teammates with Crystal, she certainly is one to bring that joy. Like, we had some days where our team wasn't doing well. Everyone was kind of down in the locker room, and Crystal's energy and bubbly personality many times, and her joy surrounding living life and what she's doing was contagious. And like with me personally, in our drives to and from, especially on the way home from a bad game,
Oh, gosh.
whatever it was. But it's true. I think like what you're saying in words, I can see reflected in your actions, which is obviously really powerful. And so, last question here, unless we have any others that pop up in the chat. Really great questions, guys. I appreciate everyone who's tuned in to listen, and appreciate so much your wisdom here, Crystal, and you sharing your journey. Specifically, you talked about the young Black woman who you had that huge impact on, and maybe actually she had the huge impact on you when you were at Chelsea. But I know that, as I mentioned, we have some young Black women who are working every day on their craft, and who, especially, it was really important for me that they hear from you, specifically to the technique community. But what advice do you have specifically for young Black women who dream of playing at the highest level, and who want to be you one day?
I mean, yeah, I think I kind of made a post not too long ago, really just challenging coaches and commentators and announcers to, kind of just stray away from the whole idea that, Black players are just athletic, or that we just have speed and we're just strong. So I would just encourage all the Black athletes to just become a well-rounded player. You don't want anyone to put you in a box. You want to, be able to have multiple traits on the field that you can use, and I think for me, I'm always working on ways to improve, and when I'm needed in a different position, I know that I'll be ready, because I try to work on my game, not just one little aspect of the game. So I truly want all the Black players out there to be so good and so great at so many different things, and not be put in a box. So that's what I really encourage them to do, is just become that well-rounded player, work on your technique, understand the game. And, so much of the game is played between the ears. So it's really about working smarter, not harder, most of the time.
Yeah, wonderful. Two more quick questions from the audience, and then I know we could probably talk to you for hours, and there would still be questions coming in, but we'll do two more. How have you personally managed your individual training during, with COVID and being shut down and being isolated? So, you talk about all the things that players can work on, but what has there been some change in what you've done personally, or kind of what are some of the things you were working on before you were able to train back with your team?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think the quarantine time actually made me a little bit more technical, because there wasn't a whole lot of space that I could use. And it really was about setting up some cones and moving in and out using various, parts of my feet to like manipulate defenders, which were the cones, and just kind of, keep the ball close and tight. I think it's actually really nice that we didn't have so much space, or we didn't have kind of access to huge open fields, because I really got to work on things that I normally don't get to work on. So I think that's what I really enjoyed doing in quarantine time. But I also had a husband that we kind of played little quirky, funny soccer games. We did a little bit of 1v1s, and that was a disaster because he was elbowing me all the time. But also, you know, we try to create just fun games and kind of make the sport fun again, because during those times, you know, things were stressful. You know, we all missed our jobs. I missed being back with my teammates, but at the same time, I enjoyed sharing those times with my husband and just kind of creating different ways to look at the game.
Awesome. Favorite moment? Do you have a favorite moment from the World Cup a year ago?
Oh, favorite moment. Well, besides the final whistle blowing, and I was like, yes, but obviously, my favorite moment was probably the France game. I mean, that was something that I still have chills talking about it, because every play was so important. I just remember having to hype myself up after, you know, one play. I was like, all right, Crystal, next one, you know, next one, next one, next one. I just feel like I couldn't even stop and take a breath. The whole game was, you know, you just felt so uncomfortable almost, but you just felt so also unified as a team. I remember just you know, talking to my teammates on the field. It was all about, let's go, we got this. Let's go, we got this. And, you know, just that game meant so much, just knocking out the host country in a World Cup. I mean, yeah, it doesn't get better than that. That was the best moment probably from the World Cup.
Yeah, and I mean your performance that game spoke for itself, so no words necessary. But I was tired. I was tired watching.
Whoa, what just happened here? Like it was crazy.
Yeah. Okay, well, last thing to leave people with, who is Crystal 2 years from now as a player, as a woman? Like, what is your next? Obviously, you have achieved what many of all of us dream of doing, but what's next for you? Like, who do you envision yourself being in your next few years?
Yeah, hopefully I am a gold medalist. Fingers crossed that the Olympics is going to be happening, and that would be really great. That's definitely next on my list. But you know, for me, I mean, I just hope I'm the same. You know, I think I really take a lot of pride in really not changing. You know, obviously, you know, I won a World Cup, and I still to this day am just like, yeah, I did that. It was incredible, but it's not everything. You know, to me, it's really about building close relationships with those around me. Working on new projects, living with my husband for once in a lifetime. But I think, yeah, like I hope not too much changes about Crystal in the future, but I would like to have a gold medal around my neck. That is definitely for certain.
That's a wonderful answer. I love it. Don't change.
I won't change.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much again. Everybody who listened in, you guys really we were treated to something really special today. So thank you, Crystal. Obviously, we'll all be watching and cheering. Look forward to continuing to catch up with you, but can't thank you enough. And thank you to all of you who tuned in. We have a lot of requests for you to do this again. So I'll talk to Crystal about doing this again.
I'll be back.
Okay. Thank you again, Crystal.
Thank you.